Right, g'day everybody, we're back. This one I think is going to be quite a popular one. What I'm going to show you guys to do today is make your own wax foundation sheets. Now they're not quite like the ones that you buy, but as far as, you know, value for money and reusing the wax that you got at your own house, brilliant, they do the job fine. So if we have a look, they're going to be like this. This is the end product. So you've actually got texture on one side only. The other side is just flat. It doesn't really seem to bother the girls, to be perfectly honest with you. And they do come out quite thick, so they do give a really good foundation. So it's just a good way to reuse the wax that you've got and yeah, try and save a little bit of money. So with that being said, I'll just give you a bit of a rundown of the things that we need. So to start with, you're going to need a pre-made, like a pre-rolled sheet of wax foundation. So, you know, just the standard ones you buy in there. So that's going to be what our template is. Next, this is a piece of form working ply that I've scuffed up on one side, just to help you'll see later when the silicone sticks to it. So, yeah, you can use anything. Probably better if you can find a piece of natural timber, like a piece of pine or something like that, big enough to fit it. It will hold up a bit better in the test of time if you're going to be using it a lot. And, you know, probably more natural, but it's just what I have, so I've scuffed it up one side. Alright, so we've got that. We are going to need, this is stuff from Bunnings, you're going to need a little paint mixer. It's not necessary, but it does make it a hell of a lot easier for the extra couple of bucks. Also, spatula for spreading. We need some silicone. Now, all of this is available at Bunnings. Whatever hardware store you got, just got to make sure, I'll pull one out for you and show you. We are looking for 100% silicone. You see that? So there's a lot of types of silicons out there, roof and gutter, bathroom, all that sort of stuff. It's generally the cheapest white one. The cheapest white one tends to be 100% silicone. So it's going to work better with our reagents. It's going to work better for pulling the wax off later. It's yeah, it's just that's the stuff you want. So 100% silicone. Going to need just a little scraper. You'll see why a bit later. A PET bottle. 2 litre ones work better. I just happen to have a 1.25 litre one. It'll do. We need some mineral terps. So that's going to be a solvent for one of the processes. For all of you in Australia, corn flour. Everyone else, I think you call it corn starch or whatever you call it. Anyway, corn flour. That's going to be our reagent for the silicone. You're going to need a drill if you're going to be doing your mixing with the paddle, a knife, some baking paper, and oh, it's underneath everything here. Just another blank piece of wood just to work on. We can line that a bit later. So yeah, that's all we need. Right, so first thing we need to do, this is the hidden piece of timber I had before. Nothing fancy, just to work off, give you a flat surface. So line it with something. I got baking paper, nothing stopping you using a bit of newspaper or whatever. You'll see later, it'll come off just as easy. So I just want to line that with something. We're going to have trouble sitting that down, aren't we? A bit windy. So we line that with something. Then we take our pre-made foundation sheet. Okay, we lay that out on the plastic, or the paper like that. There we go, that'll hold down nicely. So we want it as flat as possible. Any damages in this is going to be our casting template for the silicone. So we want it nice and flat, nice and, you know, uninterrupted with the patterns and everything. So just try and select your ones. If you've got a few damaged bits, work around that. So that's as easy as that one, that's prepared. So what we've got to do, we take our bottle. Doesn't have to be a bottle, but as far as things going in the bin are concerned, you might as well use it, because once we're done with it, it's going to be messy. Ta-da! One mixing container. Right, what we need to do, we'll grab our silicones, like this. Now I'm just going to duck over here for a sec. I've got to get my grinder, but we want to cut the tops off of these so that we can take the silicone out and dump it in here. So bear with me a second. like that. You don't have to use a grinder, I'm just lazy. You can use a knife or something, as long as you get the top off there. What are we going to use to push it up? This will do. So you just got to push the plunger under here. Woo, big sausage. One. Another one. Yep. Look at that. Nasty. Okay, so that's going to be our base, obviously, for our mould. What we need to do next, this is going to be too thick to work with properly, and you'll find that if you want to use straight silicone, it's going to take you weeks to dry, if that at all, because once you get the edges dried up from our template, it's not going to it's not going to dry very well. So we need to do a little process here. So we thin it down first, not too much, just maybe 2 tubes of silicone, maybe half a cup of mineral terps. Not too much, it will still work, but you do get shrinkage from the terps as it dries. So I mean, I've done so many different experiments trying to get something like this to work, and I'll tell you what, we've tried plastic foundations to try and cast it, we've tried different epoxies, we've tried casting silicone. No, this seems to be the best way, but yeah, the one thing I've found, no matter how you want to try it, don't make it too thin, because it will dry, and the shrinkage, you'll end up with, you know, brood comb that's half the size of what you need it to be. Alright, so we get the mix up. This is the bit that saves you doing it by hand. Let's put a little bit more in there. Reason being is when we put our, we're going to put our cornstarch, our corn flour in there to act as a reagent, it will thicken. So I just don't want it too thick that we can't spread it into the little gaps properly. A little bit more. Makes it real good. Alright, now, word of warning for this next bit. This will sit there for quite a while, not a problem. It's thinned down, it won't cause you any headaches. Before you put the corn flour in, make sure you're ready to go for everything else. So have your scraper ready, have a knife ready, or cut that container in half to get it all out. Have all of your boards ready, your spatulas ready. Alright, because it's going to get messy quite quickly, and there's no second chances. Once you put that corn flour in, it's going to start the reaction and it's going to start curing, so you need to be on top of your game. As far as how much corn flour you want to put in, you could get away with 2 or 3 teaspoons. It'll take longer to cure, but it will cure. This will enable the stuff in the center that's not exposed to the oxygen to cure nice and evenly through the whole thing, and you're not going to have to wait a week to do it. You put more in, it's going to cure quicker. So depends how confident you are as to how much you want to put in. You'll play with it and you'll see. You'll probably stuff 1 or 2 up, but it's not too expensive, this process. It's just messy. So I'm going to put a bit of the cornstarch in. So I've put about 5 5, maybe 6 teaspoons in there. Alright, we're ready. This part, you want to make sure when you mix this in, you mix it really well, because you don't want some parts curing, some parts remaining liquid. You know, it's hard to tell where it's mixed through, so make sure you do it super good, and that's where the little electric mixer makes life so much easier for you. Get right in the bottom there, and you can see how it's thickened up a little bit already. That's why we added the turps to start with. Right down the bottom there, get that corn flour all the way through. Okay. Now I don't really give a stuff, so I'm a bit naughty, but I probably recommend getting gloves for this bit. We want to dump it all out. Oops, a little bit of something in there. Obviously, you want that nice and clean, obviously, so you get your template good. So we dump him on there. Start with a little bit. Okay. We want a thin layer, and what we want to do is spread it out. Make sure we get it down inside all of those cells. Alright, this is important, otherwise you're going to have little flaws and fissures in your cells. So see how it's coming out nice and smooth over here. So we've got a few air bubbles. Just keep working that through, working it one direction, the other direction, just like so. Take your time, make sure you get them all, because when you get to the end and it doesn't come out 100% perfect, you'll be kicking yourself. And you'd be surprised the amount of detail you can pick up with this method of casting. It's pretty unbelievable. Scraping through, it's looking pretty good. I think I might need a little bit more silicone. Top them up a little bit again. It's already thickening. So you've got to be confident if you're putting in that amount of corn flour. There we go, it's looking good. Spreading them out. This is probably the hardest bit of the whole process, so it's pretty easy. Pretty happy with that, I think. Now, all your remaining silicone, this is the easy bit. Get her on there. It's like icing the world's nastiest cake. Ooh. Back on there. So what we're going to do is just give it a nice even layer. You can use more tubes of silicone if you want. I've only gone for 2, but if you've got a larger container, I think from some of my experiments, the thicker silicone does tend to give you a bit easier to work with when you're trying to peel the wax off. A bit more flexible, but anyway, it's up to you. So get it as even as you can. Nice and even, Stephen. Make sure it covers all the edges too. The edges are very important, and you'll see when I do the next little clip on how to use these bad boys why we need the edges filled nicely. Okay, so it's pretty even. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give it a few wibble wobbles like this. You see when we push the board on, it's just going to give the air a little escape path. So the scuffed side down if you're using form ply, but yeah, timber's better. Just try and get it. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to trim it again later. I just put it on there, wibble wobble, until we can see. Rock it forward, nice bit of pressure. You want to make sure you've got silicone coming out of